Thank you. Mr. Jack?
No questions.
Thank you. Mr. Roy?
I'll only say, just because it's important, that I do appreciate the spirit with which you're bringing this forward. And I do think there's a lot of people here who are having these conversations, and they're legitimate. But I would note, and I think, and I'm sorry, I was finishing something in there, but that I believe I'm correct, that not only are the dollars currently attached to the CR and also your amendment, they are not paid for, correct?
That's correct.
And, you know, for me, it's a, I don't break from that very often. And so, you know, I'm going to have to take that under advisement on the CR itself on the floor. I know a lot of people view it as peanuts and a $37 trillion debt when you're talking about $88 million in the current bill, and then yours would plus it up 100, you know, whatever it is. But, you know, for me, it's something that we have to break in this town, that whether it's $5 or $5 trillion, we got to figure out how to pay for everything. And I think President Reagan was right that everything should be attached to a tax bill. And everything we propose, it ought to say, all right, well, this is going to be a 0.05% tax increase on Americans to pay for whatever this is, in this case. And for me, this is, you know, to benefit members of Congress, and it may be a worthwhile thing. I think we ought to debate it and have a conversation about how the dollars can be used. I think they could be more flexibly used to ensure that we're able to figure out what works for each of us. I live on 10 acres in Texas. That's very different than colleagues who live in Brooklyn or whatever. So I very much appreciate the spirit with which you bring it forward, and we're all trying to, you know, think through all these issues. But I've got some concerns on the spending side, as I shared with you privately. So I yield back.
Mr. Roy, can I respond?
Yeah, sure.
So
Please.
I just want to give you the state of affairs.
Yeah.
So last year, I had a constituent of mine who was target practicing in his backyard 8 miles from my house. He was a former felon. He had a high-powered rifle similar to the one that was used to kill Charlie Kirk. He had a scope. He had a silencer, body armor, 3,000 rounds of ammunition. His neighbor, his anonymous neighbor, called the police because she heard shots in the backyard. That's the only reason we know about this. It's not someone who ever communicated with my office, not someone who ever sent me an email, no threats online, nothing. Didn't know the guy. When the police arrived, they found that he was a former felon, found all this stuff. They also found a book that was filled with anti-Semitic material. They found a target list, My Name, My Temple. They went into his web history. He was Googling wind resistance and distance and where my wife worked. He got sentenced to 25 years a week ago. When this happened, I was notified by local police. Capitol Police knew about this and never called my office. Not at all. And so I'm trying really hard to explain that we are all in more danger than we are willing to know. Mr. Norman, I get it. It's expensive. And are adding to the debt. I understand. We have all of these problems when it comes to spending money. I don't want to hijack the CR. I just talked to the speaker about it for 30 minutes. But we got to have an up or down vote on the floor on security for ourselves. If we can't solve this, if we can't protect ourselves, how are we going to do anything around here? And so, you know, look, I was willing to trade my vote on the CR, which is a political liability, because I think it's that important to protect ourselves. So maybe the dollar amount's not right. Maybe I don't have it exactly right. Obviously, the CR dropped. I had a couple hours to put this together. But I can't even get a commitment from the speaker to do this. When I met with him in January and went through the failure of Capitol Police to even notify me that a constituent was arrested with a plot to kill me, he told me he would work on it. It took 8 months to get $5,000. And so I'm just trying to figure out how we break the bureaucratic logjam around here, go to the members direct, right? Get out of our leaderships and figure out how we're going to protect ourselves. And so I appreciate the conversation.
Yeah. And I'll just add this for time's sake, move on, just to say, I appreciate that, appreciate the spirit with which you share it. I'm sorry that you all were dealing with that. I'm glad that that individual was prosecuted and now in jail. That's good. We need more of that. But everything's a little different, right? I mean, you know, where I live, you know, a day doesn't go by where someone isn't shooting a gun somewhere, right? There's shotguns and, you know, coyotes getting shot or whatever. So it's kind of like, you know, it's a normal way of life. But But my issue is like, there's restrictions on what we could use the MRA for that might work better for one member than another. And I just worry we're reacting, we're appropriating money, and I think we need a wholesale review of a lot of things in Congress, from stock trading by individual members to salary to MRA for security and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, whether it's $5 or $5 trillion, we ought to pay for it. I mean, when I stare at ALS victims and cancer victims who want research, and I say, I believe in what you're doing, but we got to pay for this stuff, I got to say the same thing for members of Congress. So with that, I yield back.